Fala pessoal, seja muito bem-vindo a esta live Metal com Batata. Estou realizando aqui primeiro no meu canal, também aqui, né, no Carlos Lirman e também no Metal com Batata. Vai sair muito, vai ser muito bacana, cara, ter, porque mostrando mais da cena europeia também é muito importante estar aqui. E hoje eu vou ter o Peter da Insurrection, né, a banda de death metal holandesa, já está aqui comigo. E, cara, nós vamos falar também, além da banda, do lançamento Exile to Earth, nós vamos também falar um pouco da cena underground da Holanda. Muito interessante, fica comigo. Peter, thank you very much once again, my man, to stay here, to join the live. It's very cool to have you here. I was telling to the audience in Brazil that we are going to talk about the band, or about the brand new EP, the new album, and about the history of the band, as well as about the underground scene in the Netherlands, right? Cool. People want to know everything that you want to say, everything that you want to talk. Once again, thank you very much for your time.
No problem at all. Thanks for having me.
Okay, let's begin to talk about Insurrection, right? We have this new Exile to Earth that was released originally in 2023, and after that it's bonus in 2025, correctly?
Correct.
Amazing. I was listening to the album that I got. I know that sometimes people don't like to have to be compared. Some bands don't like to compare, but as I could see, even in the release of the album, you have some previous content in previous records, mixing made by guys that produced before In Flames, Arch Enemy, and I can see some kind of influence of these bands in Insurrection sound. Am I right? Am I wrong? Your words.
Yeah, you're totally correct.
Tell me a little bit this influence of the band.
Yeah, from the start, when we just wrote the riffs, the Gothenburg sound was becoming pretty apparent, especially since Circles of Despair, our previous album, we really like the sound. It fits what we want to do, and we decided to move on with it and evolve specifically in that direction.
Cool. And of course, for example, when understanding the sound of the band, of course, there's this mixing of death metal, thrash metal. You have a lot of great memorable melodies. So when you listen to the melody, you listen to it and you enjoy, the melody. The process of the composition is up to you, the whole band. How do you work in these melodies in all the lines?
Yeah, we usually start with the guitar riffs. Our guitarist Mandy and Marty are heroes in writing riffs, but our drummer is really good in composing and making songs about the separate riffs and seeing the composition before we really starting to write songs. So he's usually the one who puts them together, and then at the end I'll come with my bass tracks and the vocals to just put some really nice spices to it.
Cool. And a little bit about your music background. Have you studied? Have you in the school or maybe conservatory? How was your music background in terms of studying?
Yes, my musical background started when I was about 6, I think. I started playing keyboards, but that wasn't really doing it for me. I just didn't think it was cool enough to play a keyboard, so I started picking up the guitar. Yes, and I did study popular culture. It's not really typically music, but it's music involved. It's really all the things surrounding it.
Cool. The other guys came from the same wave, or more or less different from you? The other members of the band.
Everyone studied different things.
Cool. Okay, about so. Just to be sure about everything that we're going to talk and don't miss any single point. For example, you released in 2015, right, an EP, Catatonic, if I'm not wrong, correctly? Okay. How do you see the evolution of the band that, for example, in the release, I have here, for example, you have played with many bands, many great bands, beside many great, for example, Destruction, King Diamond, Cradle of Field, Hypocrisy and Suffocation, and so on. How do you see the evolution of the band, not just musically, as well as promoting this stuff and growing up inside the metal music around the world?
Yeah, that's a great question. The funny thing about the Dutch musical culture, like the metal scene, is that the Netherlands are a really small place. So when we play around here, wherever you play, you're the local band. So it's really hard to take the next step to escape the local band part. So after our first record, we really started to look into Germany and places around Germany to see if we can find a spot there. When that worked out, we did a few gig exchanges. So we invited bands to play in the Netherlands for exchange that we play in their country. That was a really great way to make cool connections and to expand our horizons a bit. Because especially playing abroad makes you, they take us more serious now.
Cool. But it's really, really interesting that you said that, for example, if I got correctly, you prepare a gig for this foreign band in Netherlands, and they prepare a gig for the insurrection in their country, let's say.
Yes, that's for us the way to find an entrance to other scenes.
Cool. Yeah, this is quite interesting because I remember that when I was living in Brazil, in the metal scene in Brazil, we used to do the same.
Okay, cool.
Talk to a band and switch some gigs. We invite them to play in our hometown, so we went to play in their hometown because they organized a gig there. Quite interesting. And about to promote the band itself, when you begin, for example, in the big media, let's call big media, the open media, you have space for the metal scene, or everything is basically internet, underground since 2008?
Yeah, it's basically only internet and underground. There's not a lot of space for alternative music in the Dutch popular culture. But there's a little bit of bright side on the horizon, because the singer of Nightwish, she's Dutch, and she's pretty popular around here since she did like a TV program called The Best Singer. She got really high scores in that, and that made people realize that metal from the Netherlands is a really big part of the Dutch culture. And a few weeks ago, the band Distance is also from the Netherlands, and they came out as the biggest export products of the Netherlands. Like they did the most foreign shows of every Dutch band, including non-metal bands.
Cool. This is really, really cool, because I see. So in some comparison, for example, I moved to Poland when I was 12 years ago, and it's quite interesting because you have in Brazil a root impact of the German metal, like Halloween, all other bands, and sometimes people make confusion. For example, it's a Dutch band from Netherlands, but they think something like Germany or something, Austrian band, this kind of things. But it's quite interesting. And when you talk about Dutch thrasher, that you, as people say, you said in the Catatonica record, the first record, do you see a huge difference in the, let's call, thrash metal, death metal from Netherlands, from Germany, from Austria, and so on? Do you see some difference?
Well, thrash metal from Germany is really typical thrash metal from Germany. Then you're going to the Tankards and Creators and that kind of bands. I think the Dutch thrash metal bands are more looking for their own sound with some other influences. And in my experience, at least, I think the Dutch bands are trying to be a bit more creative. But that's not an attack on all the German bands, because there are great German thrash bands, of course. But we played a lot of shows in Germany with a lot of mediocre thrash bands.
Okay. No, but very cool. Another point I'd like to talk a little bit, because I see a difference in the time of the release of your records. For example, EP in 2015, so the first record in 2019, so 4 years. 23, so 25 is the re-release of the Exile to Earth EP with some bonus. When you're going to release the next album, do you have in mind? Do you see in the future something coming from the band, Insurrection?
Yeah, we're already busy writing new stuff, so there is going to be a new record, but that's all about all that I can tell about that. I have no idea when it's finished or what we're gonna do in terms of releases, but the stuff that we already wrote is gonna be great.
Cool. And of course, for example, I have here in the other screen the YouTube channel of Insurrection, as well as every single one who's watching this interview. Here below in the first link in the description of this video, man, check Insurrection YouTube channel, subscribe, right? Stay tuned around, watch the videos, share with your friends. I can see that clear. You have very good production, very cool videos, right? Crimson Skies, for example, very cool. You have all the records around. You have Non-Existence Fall, other live presentations as well. How do you see the promotion of the band and the other metal, the metal in general, and the Insurrection, of course, through the internet, through YouTube channel, basically, once we are here on YouTube?
Yeah, we try to use our YouTube channel as some sort of portfolio. When people want to find us, mostly the first thing they look up is our YouTube channel, I guess. So we make sure that they're finding some representative stuff. But to be honest, we don't really have like promotional plans or big things planned out in the future. It's just when we have something cool that we think we can share with the rest of the world, and we put it on our channel.
Though it's not like that kind of online presence that every single thing you wake up in the day, hello everybody. It's not like this kind of things. It's just when you have some very cool portfolio, some very cool song video to release, to spread out. Something that is I can see here in the release, and we are gonna come back to talk a little bit more about Exile to Earth. But the first two records, let's call it, you released by Big Bad Wolf Records and Headbangers Records, and now the last two released are the same, just the Exile to Earth that was released as well, Tugnular Records. How do you see this difference? Still, for example, many bands, they have this online presence. They prefer to work independently with no label behind. And how you still working with labels to release and promote your work? How do you see this difference? How was with Big Bad Moon? How is coming and how is being with Tugnular?
Yeah, the how do you say that? Working together with the Big Bad Wolf and Headbangers Records was great at that time. But for the last two records, we wanted to do things more independently. So the label Tugnular is something we started ourselves to just keep everything in our own hands.
This is cool. I'm sorry, I didn't know that it's your label.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Cool. For this reason I ask, because when you switch the labels, sometimes people want to know the difference working. Okay, so you chose to work independently, right?
Yes.
And how do you see the difference? For example, now you must check, well, everything's under your control, basically. How hard or not, or any path that you find out to promote the band nowadays?
Well, it's easy because you can just do everything that you think about. There's no need for communication or stuff. Because I'm in the band, I have direct lines with the bands. But in terms of promotion, that's really hard. I don't know what it is about it, but for me it's hard to say like, hey, here's my stuff, it's great. I wish it would be easier to just be found everywhere, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I think I'm a bit too timid to like promote my own work in the way some really big labels do it.
I got. I got. And stepping, let's say, step independently, from the rest. Um, and you said that you thought maybe, or you wish to be easier, a little bit easier to be found. How did you get your first step when you talk to the other guys of the band? Okay, guys, let's do everything by our own, and let's see what's gonna happen. When you decided, what made you decide to step alone?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite get it.
Because nowadays you're doing everything by yourself, right?
Yes.
And what happened? What kind of fact happened that makes you think, okay, from now on, from this new record, let's do everything by ourselves?
Yeah, that's
Any kind of
purely.
experience that you experienced?
It was mostly communication issues, and like we thought that things were differently than the label thought, like in terms of deals we made regarding promotion and yeah, like the pressings and stuff. I had the feeling that they thought it was easier to not write anything down, but for us it would be great to just have something we can rely on and like present from, hey, this is what we agreed, here's written. But that wasn't the case.
Okay, I got. Yeah, so sometimes the main problem comes from the problems in the communication, right?
Yeah.
Contracts and so on. Cool. Okay, let's come back a little bit, as we were talking before, in the metal scene in Netherlands. When you begin to listen to metal and rock, how was the underground or the metal scene in general, not just underground, in Netherlands, when you begin to play, when you begin to listen to rock? Pubs, how to find records? How was the main point, main Sam?
Yeah, well, finding out what was happening in the scene was a really thrilling experience for a young teenage me. I grew up in a pretty small town, so I think I was like the only one of maybe 4 or 5 people who actually listened to metal. But then realizing with making new friends in the scene and going to the local shows, the scene was much bigger than I initially expected. Later growing up, I am seeing that maybe the scene is bigger than would be really good for it, because there are a lot of bands, a lot of talents, and not enough places that regularly plays metal bands. So there's not an audience for everybody. So you really have to stand out in quality of the music to really break through to the big podia. But then again, there are a lot of small venues and pubs that do book the smaller bands, the local bands, the underground bands. But you do need to know where to find them. They are really underground.
Yeah, cool. And do you remember the first big concert that you watched?
The first big concert that I watched,
Yeah.
like live or on the internet.
Live. Let's say live.
Like, in our neighborhood, you had a festival that's called Waardrock. I went to see Slayer there when I was 17 years old. It was
Cool.
a life-changing experience.
Cool. No, coming back to the recording, is the same because I have here just the band itself, the lineup, yeah, right? But you have changed musicians for the time from the first record, from the first lineup to now, or do you keep basically the same four heads, same four people in the band?
Yeah, since our first EP, since Catatonic, we have the same lineup. The very first iteration of the band had a different singer and a bass player, but that they played about 10 shows with him. But that didn't really work out, and since that moment, I'm there.
Cool, cool, cool. And about because I can see that you have different studios to make the recording, to make the mixing, the master. To go to the first time in the studio, how was the preparation to record this new album? How was everything related, the gear that you used? You remember the bass, the guitar, the amps, and so on?
Oh yeah, the first recordings for Catatonic were nerve-wracking. Uh, I over prepared. Knew everything on top of my head. Like on the spot, I could play everything. But it was the gear what was letting me down in the first few recording sessions. Until the engineer at the time, that's Chad, he called me and, hey, can you just come over? I have a really good bass here. We can do every recording in like an afternoon. So I went there in like 3 or 4 takes. We did the whole EP, and then it sounded great. For the album after that, for Circles, I was really prepared in terms of gear and everything. By that time, I had a huge network of musician friends, so I could borrow a great bass for the recordings from friends, and we have some outboard gear from the studio that was used by someone who wasn't using it at that time, so we could use that. That was also a great experience, especially to see how much support we could get in terms from helping each other out in the scene. And for the EP, when we recorded that, it was just now we know what works and what doesn't work. So now we know what we need and how to prepare, and that was great. It was like we matured a bit, and you can hear that back in the recording, in my opinion.
Cool, cool, cool. One thing that caught my attention when I got the promo material from the band, right? That, of course, we are talking about Exile to Earth record, right? We have the two sides, right? You have A and B, as it was before in viral times.
Yeah,
But caught my attention that okay, you have 4 songs, but 3 live songs, and B side you have 7 8-beat songs.
yeah.
What's the point?
Oh well, it's just something we would like to do. Just something extra that we enjoy. Especially the guitar player and the drummer are really into old school NES games.
Ah,
So
yes,
they
I
really dig
remember.
that sound. We tried with different programs and different iterations of the 8-bit music. Just put our files through there, see what's happening, and the songs that came out on the B sides are the one that stuck. Those work the best, and it's great if you like do some homework and want to feel like let's go, let's go, let's go. The 8-bit thing is perfect for that.
Ah, cool. No, that's very, very funny because when I got and I opened the files here, I got this online version and I saw okay, have A and B side. So I opened okay, basically the same songs, but when I begin to check, no, this is 8-bit song. When I opened the release, it's 8-bit version. I said, okay, cool, because I remember, as you said, the old video games. I remember I had Atari in Brazil when I was a child. It was 8-bit video
Yeah,
game. Yeah, it's well, maybe it's not related, but now you said yes, it's related to
yeah.
the stuff. Oh, cool.
We would just
My
wanted to
man,
do something from this time, but converse it to the old school times, the careless times, just playing games.
true, true. Do you like?
Yeah. I love it.
A lot. Cool, 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 cool. My man, before I finish here, I'd like to know plans, tours, new record. When's gonna be there? Plans to come around to play here in Poland, for example. Not just to leave this Netherlands and Germany stuff. I mean Germany and Netherlands area, right? Coming here to Poland, maybe Czech Republic, any place around. Tell me.
Yeah, we have some pretty cool shows lined up this year. Um, One of the biggest one is the Eindhoven Metal Meeting. Uh, we would love to come to Poland, of course. Uh, if you know some places that would book us, then let me let me know. Uh, we're going to Germany for a few days, and maybe something in the Czech Republic, but that's not really something I can confirm yet. And in the meantime, we're going to write a new album and see how long that takes. But I'm really excited for new stuff. I love the stuff that we already did, but maybe you know, but whenever you release music, it's never really 100% representative of where you are as a band. It's always a recording of maybe songs you wrote 2 or 3 years ago. And right now we're working on songs that matter at this time. So that's what makes me excited right now.
Cool. No, for sure, for sure, for sure. You are always more excited to release the new stuff, you know,
Yeah.
of course. We played old stuff with the bands, you know, let's figure out like Iron Maiden playing Iron Maiden, you know, all this year. This come on again. But yeah, it's part of the game, but of course they are more excited to play the new stuff and release, make more people. Once again, everybody who's watching us, man, right here below in the first link in the description, Insurrection YouTube channel, you can listen to the songs, you can watch videos, you can watch live performance as well. Remember to subscribe. And here, man, remember, if you're watching us here for the first time, to support the channel, right here below you have my online package guitar lessons. Remember, this is the best way to support the channel. I'd like to thank Peter for the time to talk and invite Peter. Last words, come on.
Thank you very much for watching. It was great being here. I had a lot of fun with you guys. And I hope you see you again real soon, but then live with a show.
For sure, for sure. Stay tuned. But something that's important, we didn't talk. People, if you want, when people wants to see Insurrection schedule, the days, the best way but the best place to search for.
The best place is our Facebook channel or our Instagram channel.
I love it. Insurrection, just Insurrection Band.
Yes, Insurrection Official, I think.
Lovely, lovely. For everyone who's watching us now, thank you very much for watching and stay around for the Insurrection. See ya.
Ciao.